I'd like to welcome you to tonight's seminar on forensic science, a multidisciplinary and international approach. On behalf of the New York College Department of Psychology, you're warmly welcome. I'm very happy to see some guests, members of the general public, as well as students from our department and graduates here in the audience. The field of forensic science is very broad. It involves many disciplines, such as law, medicine, criminology, and of course, psychology. Forensic science plays a crucial role in the criminal justice system by providing objective and verifiable information to aid investigations, supporting legal proceedings, and to ensure the fair administration of justice, of course. We're very honored tonight to have several distinguished speakers with us this evening. They're experts on a variety of forensic issues, and we really look forward to learning more about this important field, as well as discussing the issues faced from the perspective of the different disciplines involved, as well as examining the issues from a variety of different cultures. For example, Greece, Turkey, the US, UK, and so on. So first of all, we'll hear from Professor Ersi Kalfoglu, who is the president of the Balkan Academy of Forensic Sciences. We're very honored to have our colleagues from the Balkan Academy of Forensic Sciences here with us tonight. Please come up, Ersi. Ersi is the head of the Forensic Sciences Department of the Medical Faculty of Istanbul Yeni Yüzyıl, I hope I pronounce it right, University in Turkey. So let's give a warm round of applause to Ersi.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks for being here. I'm very glad that I'm with you. What I would like to bring here today will be a general information related to forensic sciences, giving you the value of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, if you wish, way in trying to solve crime. Well, I will start with something that you most probably all know. I am planning to give all the information that I want to you using a case that you definitely all know here. It is a really very well-known story, but be sure everybody knows thousands of things about it. There are discussions and discussions related, but I'm not going to talk about any decisions that have been made or any ways that this crime was solved. The only thing that I would like to go on speaking with you will be how we tackle this kind of a case and how all the forensic science community is working to be able to solve this crime. Right. Do you remember this case? There is a mother that is a suspect of killing these 3 kids. You remember this, I guess? Yeah. So there were lots of questions related to this case, and it was an issue of months dealing. Every single, even person was dealing with this case. Now, to be able to start working with this case, the first thing that you remember from the television was to go into this. The responsible teams went to the house where the event was happening, where it is thought that the mother killed the baby. So this is where the crime scene investigation team started to work. The crime scene investigation is not a team, it is a quite important knowledge that is below it. So, crime scene investigation is one of the issues that we have to deal with. If you remember the little girl and the room where this little girl was there. Then what happened? Then the mother was the main suspect of this issue. It means that police and the legal system was involved. Okay, forensic sciences helps the legal system to be able to find out the perpetrator and solve a crime. So this is the mother, for those that do not know the issue. This is the suspect, the main suspect, the mother of these kids. Okay, then the event actually occurred in a hospital room. There are 3 kids, one of them is dead, the other one is also dead, and this kid is in the hospital for certain time. During this stay in this hospital, it is said that by the hospital itself, it is reported that there is a possibility that ketamine was used wrongly or willingly to this kid. And this is the reason of its death. Now, well, the kid was called Georgina, and she was 9 years old, and there is a possibility of ketamine in the whole process. Okay, what is ketamine? This is a small molecule, comparatively small molecule. It is used medically for treatment of depression and pain management. Well, it has different other types of effects to human bodies. Okay. Who will talk about the presence of ketamine in the body of the little girl? It is the forensic toxicology that will deal with this issue. So I'm trying to fill up the umbrella, which is called forensic sciences, starting from the crime scene investigation, then the hospital where one of the kids were in for some time. Then, of course, we have the dead body that has been, went to another field of forensic sciences, which is the legal medicine, and you're going to have a very good description later on related to this. So now we are in another field that is called forensic toxicology, because everybody cannot talk about what is present in the biological fluid of an organism, like the blood of this little girl. So the forensic toxicology works with knowledge of toxicology, analytical chemistry, pharmacology, clinical chemistry. So all these majors contribute to the development of what we call forensic toxicology. So this knowledge or expertise helps to solve problems related to the legal system. Okay, so what if really this ketamine was given to the little girl? Who was the person that could give the ketamine to the little girl? 2 options. One, the mother, who is the suspect, the main suspect. 2, one way or another, a nurse. The mother could cooperate with nurse so that ketamine will be given to the baby, or the nurse herself gave this ketamine molecule to the baby unwillingly, unknowingly, but by mistake. Those 2 possibilities are both very important, and both possibilities are within the context of forensic sciences that is called forensic malpractice, which means not good practicing the job. This malpractice may be because of a nurse, because of a medical personnel, because of a doctor, because of anybody. So if there is a mistake, there is a group of people that will deal with what we call forensic malpractice, and this is part of the big umbrella that is called forensic sciences. What is this? It is to find the cause of an action by a medical or a general healthcare personnel. It may be negligence or omission, or willingly giving something to a person to cause injury or death. So medical malpractice is an extremely important issue for the legal system, as you can understand. Well, this story had lots of things. We know by now that the mother of the kids was really in love with her husband. But this was a pathetic love. But the husband left the wife to go with another lady. And this was something that the mother would never, ever accept. So this was a problem. This is a problem. Do you think that this can be the reason of killing her own kids? Is this the possibility? Is she really a patient? Does she have psychological or psychiatric problems? There may be. So there is some other specialties in forensic sciences that are called forensic psychology or forensic psychiatry. So this is one of the areas of forensic psychology, and I think there are a few people here coming from this undergraduate part. So it may be forensic psychology that will give an answer to this, or a forensic psychiatrist will analyze the whole thing and see what's going on. Okay? So these are the two different methods to proceed and try to find out what's going on in the brain of the person that is accused or is the perpetrator. Remember, there were this kind of, they're blurred because this is what I wanted to have. These are some of the drawings of the little girl. There are some drawings, and based on these drawings, the legal system decided on what it should be done. Who is going to analyze these little drawings that were prepared or done by the little girl? It is the forensic child psychologist this time, because this specialty is special to analyze what is written in those drawings so that they can be used as evidence in the court. Okay? So here comes another specialty that is specialized for helping the legal system and find out who. Now, well, this question, nobody asked this question ever. There's no question like that. This is my made-up question, because I want to bring in another aspect of forensic sciences. Is he the biological father? Maybe he's not. We don't know anything about this, but there is a group of people, there is a group of scientists that can give answer to this. Here we go to forensic genetics. This is another specialty under the umbrella of forensic sciences, which deals with DNA identification, mostly. I should tell you that this is the new, and everybody knows the DNA identification, but DNA identification is a 20-year-old issue. The forensic genetics is a very, very old issue. Anyway, it is okay if you know that there are people, forensic scientists in the area that are dealing with DNA identification. It can be finding familial relationships, finding the father, finding the brother, the grandmother, whether they're siblings, 2 or 3 people, and related. You can imagine what kind of complicated questions can arrive on this issue. Okay, let's go to another thing. Let's see something that the mother said. They told to the court that actually the mother was looking for what ketamine is. This is a suspicious something. Why a mother all of a sudden goes into the internet and tries to find out what is ketamine? This is not normal. We don't know whether it's normal or not, because she says that she never did that she never tried to find, she did not use internet for this specific question. Who is going to find out whether this is the reality or not? Here we go to another specialization, what is called the cyber forensics. If you want, we can call it digital forensics or computer forensics. It's a very wide specialty group which nowadays is using greatly the AI, as you can understand, and it becomes very, 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 very popular. It is not only, of course, you can understand that this is not the only question that cyber forensic can answer. You can imagine what cyber forensic can answer, right? There is a very big group of questions that can be answered via cyber forensic. So let's say that there was a blood stain in the cradle that was present in the crime scene, okay? This is made up again. This is my involvement in the whole process. If there is blood stain in the cradle, then somebody has to find out whose that blood stain is, okay? As you know now, it is the forensic geneticist that is going to find out whose that blood is, because there you going to use DNA and they're going to find whether this blood is of the suspect. If there is, for example, a blood stain of somebody else and not the mother's, here comes a big question mark related to the whole thing. Then this blood stain has to be analyzed and we have to find out who did this. Okay. Nowadays, we're very good in forensic genetics, very good, and we are in a position to investigate and find who this person is very nicely. So we do this, but we have to have something to compare. So we can say that this blood stain belongs to you if I have you to compare, if I have a suspect to compare. Otherwise, if I have just a blood stain and I don't have any suspect, it is difficult. It was difficult. It is not difficult anymore, because nowadays we are in a position, and this is a baby, but it's going to develop. We are going to be able to find all the physical characteristics of a person using this blood stain over there. So DNA has information about your eye color, your hair color, your thickness of your skin, yeah? Therefore, even now, we are in a position to find out how the external physical characteristics of a person, the hair color, the hair type, and everything, we can have. Now, you can imagine that now we are, I said that this is the baby level of forensic genetics, but you can understand that using now the artificial intelligence and the data that has been accumulated related and the research that is being done related to this area is very, very big. And, well, I give you 10 years. okay? After 10 years, be sure that we will be able to take your picture when your blood stain is here. Well, I don't know whether you change your hair color or what, but anyway, the physical characteristics of a person, the outer physical characteristics of a person are going to be very, very available to the work of forensic genetic practice. This will definitely help the investigation and the court and the lawyers and the decision in general. Well, this is, well, I said the present. I talked about the present, and this is one example of the future of forensic sciences. And I think this was my topic, and I think that this is what I want to tell you. And I thank you for listening. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Kalfoglu. Now, our next speaker will be Professor Sotiris Kalfoglu, who is Professor in Forensic Sciences at the Faculty of Istanbul Yeni Yüzyıl. I'll get it right. University, and Forensic Science and Crime Scene Investigation Trainer with Interpol. And he's going to be speaking to us about crime, criminology, and criminalistics. So a warm welcome.
Hi, everyone. Now, today, I want to talk to you about the forensics in action, because, as Dr. Ursi told you, that forensic science is a huge umbrella. And there are lots of disciplines that work in order to solve crimes. And we are doing this together as one body because we are trying to solve the crime, and we are trying to save the victims sometimes. So it is very important for us to work together. And at the end of this story, I will tell my story, because my story is quite an interesting one, because I was jumping from one field to another, and I will give you the explanation at the end. But for now, let's start with something, a movie clip, which some of you may know. This is no problem. This is the CSI Miami, as you know, because there are lots of spin-offs, originals, lots of films in the popular culture, but we're not this cool. Because it's very difficult to be this cool. Why we cannot be this cool? Because when you see these guys, they are doctors, they are forensic scientists, like they know genetics, they know everything. It's impossible for a man or for a woman to know everything, but they know it, because it's Hollywood, as you know. So I will just briefly mention what is forensic science. And in the most easy way to understand it is the application of scientific principles to solve crimes. We, for example, me, as a forensic scientist, I try to explain complicated things to the justice system, to the judge or the prosecutor, in order for them to understand what is happening. Because as you know, the prosecutor or the justice system in general, the people that are working there are were law students. So they know law, but they cannot know everything, just like the CSI guys. So we are there to provide the help that they need. We are there to give the explanation that they want in order to make a decision if he is guilty or she is guilty or not. We have a huge responsibility, and this responsibility is very difficult one. So let's continue. There is the importance of forensic sciences. I will not talk about this because, as you know, it is very important, and you saw it on the last case that Dr. Ersi talked to you about, but it is important. And we need lots of people involved in forensic sciences. So as you know, just briefly, let's say that this is multidisciplinary in nature because we need to work together in order to make these things. For example, the biology students or the biology majors, the professionals, they are doing DNA. They are looking at the bodily fluids. They are looking at the hairs, for example. The chemists, what they are doing at drugs, toxins, explosives. The physics, they're looking the blood spatter, as you know, if you watch Dexter, you know what I mean. It's not too beautiful like in Dexter. We do not have the strings, etc., but we have blood stain analysis. And for example, psychology, which is very important for the forensic sciences. As Dr. Ersi said, computer science also is very important, but we are not stopping there. Every field, every discipline that you can think of right now has an application in forensic sciences. For example, anthropology. Why we need anthropology? What is the connection of anthropology with forensic sciences? They are looking at the human remains. They try to identify if these remains are of humans or of animals. They are trying to look the cause of death, because if we have only the skeleton, the forensic anthropologists look and decide if there is a cause that we can see. For example, a wound here in the cranium, maybe this is the cause of death. So, sociology. What is the deal with sociology? Sociology also is very important because they are looking at the social context of crimes. They are looking at the factors, why there are lots of crimes and how we can deal with them. Criminology, which is, I am a criminologist, but I will explain it later. They are looking at the causes of these crimes. They're trying to prevent these crimes. We are doing policies to prevent these crimes. And also law. Law is a natural part of forensic sciences, you know, but social workers. Social workers often, they're under the radar, but they're very, very important people, because social workers are doing the support for the victims. Okay, we are solving the crime, but the crime is solved, but the victim is victimized. So we need to do something about them. Who will do this? The psychologists and also the social workers. Because, for example, if there is a violence in the family, and the woman or the man, because there is violence against men, it's not only for the women, they go to the social workers, and the social workers make them safe in a safe house in order to protect them from the violence. So, I will not talk too much about crime scene because I am doing crime scene, but Dr. Janko will talk you more detailed by, but just let's scrape over it. And crime scene investigation is the crucial aspect of the justice system, and we are trying to solve the case. What happened at that crime scene? This is our first rule. The most important rule that we have is the Lockhart's exchange principle. What is this? Is that he says that he's a police officer. He was a police officer. And he says that every contact leaves a trace. For example, all of you right now have your DNAs in this room. As a forensic scientist, we can find you that you were here. You were sitting over there, he was sitting over here, and we can find that. So what this means is that every criminal activity, every person that enters a room will leave behind something in this room, and then he will take or she will take something from this room and take it home. So this is our first rule of crime scene investigation. And as you can see, there are lots of crime scenes, and you can expect that every place that a human can go in, it can be a crime scene. It doesn't matter if it's on a plane, on the air, if it's on land, or it's underwater. Everywhere can be a crime scene for us. Like in the field, we are working there every time. So what are the steps, just briefly? First of all, we must secure the crime scene. This is, I think, the most important thing in the whole process, because if we cannot secure the crime scene, then we will not have anything to go by. So we need, first of all, to secure the crime scene, and then we are documenting the crime scene. What this means, we are taking photos, we are doing videos, we are doing sketches, and then after this, we are collecting evidences. The experience of the crime scene officer is very important, very crucial here, because he must have the eye in order to determine if one thing can be an evidence or it is not. Because I cannot, as a crime scene investigator, take all of this. For example, if there is a crime here, I cannot take every desk and everything from here and bring it to the lab. So I must know what to look for. And then we are processing the evidence. We take the evidence from the crime scene, we went to the laboratories, we go to the laboratories, and the laboratories do the work. They are doing lab analysis, they are looking at the DNAs, they are doing chemical tests, and lots of other things. And then we are interpreting the results, because it is not enough for us to take the report of the DNA, for example, the raw data that comes from the machine, and give it to the judge. You cannot do this. You must write it. You must, first of all, interpret what the machine gives to you, and then you must write a report. And often, as you can see, in some countries there is not, but in some countries there are, the forensic experts go to the court and testify. They say what they did, how they did it, and what they found. And then the other people can question the forensic expert. So this is an application of this. So I just explained all of this, and right now, for conclusion, I want to say my story to you, because I don't know which majors are you in, or maybe you graduated, but my bachelor's degree is in political science and international relations. So how come that I'm a forensic scientist right now, and I'm an Interpol trainer, and I'm dealing with crime scenes and forensic stuff? Let me tell you. First of all, I graduated from political science and international relations, and then I had the passion for forensic sciences, and I wanted to do something about it. And in international relations, at that time that I was a bachelor's, in my bachelor's degree, terrorism was a big factor. And terrorism, as you know, it was a huge factor and still is a huge factor in international relations. And I took that opportunity and make myself, and I got to a master's degree that dealt with terrorism, security, and policing. And then I got my criminology degree, because I dealt with the terrorism and security issue of this. And then afterwards, I got into the university. I'm a lecturer at the university and also a forensic scientist at my university. And then I started dealing with other issues of this area. For example, like I said, I got training for crime scene investigation, and I was interested in crime scene investigation. And then I started my PhD, and started my PhD in the Forensic Sciences Institute, and I'm still continuing on my journey. So, as you can tell, forensic science is everywhere, and everyone in every major can get involved with forensic sciences. This was my story for you, because sometimes the people that I'm meeting tell me that, oh, how can I get into forensic sciences? I am a sociologist, I am a psychologist, I cannot do this. Yes, you can. This is the example that you can see right now. So, that was all from me. And if you have questions, I will be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Our next speaker is Professor Gavril Petridis, Professor in Forensic Genetics, Faculty of Istanbul Yeni Yüzyıl University, with a talk entitled Sherlock Holmes, Our DNA and Beyond. Welcome.
Thank you. So I get excited when I talk about what I do, and in order not to lose the track of time, I'll start that. And of course, feel free to warn me about it. Sorry? Yeah. Is that okay? All right, a bit of history. Okay, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the terminology. A bit of maybe biochemistry and how all it started. Most probably heard about paternity testing, for example, right? And kinship analysis, and not only. So it wasn't DNA all the time, not in the beginning. It started with blood proteins, for example, and of course antigens, ABO, RH, not only. So many other things. And then we thought, okay, let's use DNA. And, but as we are gonna see in DNA, we had to identify these proteins, and we have to see what is going on within the population. We had to check. The extent of the variance within a population. So for every antigen, for every protein, we had to check 100, 500, 1,000 people for that, and not only. But then again, DNA was better, a way better idea. But okay, we start thinking about it also as ethical issues. As we know the gene, and if that gene has a product, we are talking about also some clinical information. We don't want that. We didn't want that. So, okay, let's go use the silent parts of DNA and then get rid of the ethical issues. The court asking, is that man the father of that child? Does that blood stain belong to that certain individual? We have to answer that. We don't have to answer and let anybody know whether that person after 20, 30, 40, 50 years is going to have a heart attack. We don't want that. It's not our issue. So again, and plus because of some technical parts, we started using VNTRs, some repeat sequences within our DNA, huge repeat sections. And we were using RFLP technique. Don't worry about those names. It's okay. We are gonna jump why we used to do that. That's the whole point. And then we ended up basically with STRs, smaller repeat sequences within our DNA. We are still using them, and we like them. No ethical problems, very robust. We truly like them. And we went beyond anyway. So, of course, to break it down a little bit, what do we use? DNA, the DNA within the nucleus, not only also mitochondrial DNA. So it helps us to do what? We are going to see that. And of course, throughout that whole time, whether it was in the beginning the proteins and then later DNA, we had to come up with proper techniques, instruments, the chemistry, and of course, once again, population genetics. and which means basically probability theory coupled with statistics. It's not enough to have a chemical or biochemical result. We have to calculate certain stuff. To what degree of certainty I can say that a person is the father of a child, or to what degree of certainty I can say that this blood stain or a semen stain or whatever biological sample belongs to a certain individual. So too much trouble to go through, right? But then again, so why we did it? Why the trouble? To find out whom the biological sample belongs to. Maybe it belongs to the suspect, to the victim, or any other person involved. In fact, if I am to use everything else my professor and my colleagues said before, even to realize whether there was an activity that it was really crime, and then whether we have a victim, and then whether we have a suspect. So it's part of the that multidisciplinary area. So as Sotiris said, we have Lockert's exchange principle. And of course, that's why we are talking about Sherlock Holmes, a character from novels, right? But what is fascinating, and in fact, the author, Arthur Conan Doyle, is quite contemporary of our Lockhart. It's very close. And the difference within these novels is, until that time, mostly we have a detective in the novels. And he is using, of course, logical deductions, and not only, but Sherlock Holmes, in fact, is using science. And that's the difference. And I really like that because he's holding his magnifier, right? And the guy there is Edmond Lockhart. You already seen him. And he's dubbed as the French Sherlock Holmes. And him and himself there, he's also using another instrument to magnify some stuff, a microscope. And that is, I believe, a good metaphor, because now we are using different techniques, chemistry and physics, to see what we cannot see even sometimes with the most sophisticated microscopes. And what we can see goes minuscule and minuscule and minuscule as the months and years go by. But that's another thing to discuss if we have the time at the end of the presentation. So, and that guy also is our greatest trouble, because like my colleague said before, we extrapolated some other stuff. What is the principle here? With contact, there will be an exchange. And the perpetrator, and not only of a crime, will bring something to the crime scene and will leave something from it. So here is our trouble with that. There is definitely something in the crime scene. If we cannot find it, it's our problem as the professionals. And so you can see a quite nice kind of pyramid here. Everybody, crime scene, victim, suspect, they leave something, they rub something from one to another. And yes, as my colleague said, you know, you don't have to worry about it, because we also have legislations about it. By today, like everywhere else you went today, you left your biological samples as well, not only stuff from your clothing, which is another thing in forensic sciences. So it starts like that. And so also there is another question. Okay, it's not that I can get a proper proper results. Okay, okay, I have DNA. I can work on that. I can type so many genes. It's not only that. Is it blood? Or is it sperm, like semen, right? Or is it nail clippings? And what to do with the cigarette butt? You can find that in the crime scene, right? Whether it belongs to the police officer who didn't know better and smoked within the crime scene. Maybe it belongs to the victim, maybe it belongs to one of the perpetrators. And feces, maybe, do they contain DNA? Yes, they do. Also something we, in the long run, had to deal with. And so why it is important to know also the source of the DNA. Let me give you, I'm sorry, don't worry, I don't have pictures, but my words might be graphic, but that's the job, okay? So let's say for a reason we swap the cheek of a victim, allegedly victim, all right? And then we have a DNA report, and we see that belongs to another person. Okay, but what if we know that this is saliva? Okay, now what do you think about that? Compared to the same scenario, only difference is we know that this is a semen sample. Can you see the difference? Now, baby, in the first scenario, he just spat on the face of the victim. On the other scenario, now you are thinking probably, and you're right about it, about a sexual assault. Is that right? So it's not only the DNA result, it's also the nature of the biological sample. But it boils down to the contact and to the nature of the contact. In fact, we are not saying that this guy killed the other guy or that person raped the other person. We just find out the nature of the contact. And then, of course, according to what we found and the rest of the analysis, the court will decide. So for another example is rape cases. Okay, condom. You know what that is, right? And terrible people, the assailants, the rapists, not all of them are stupid. They are monsters, but not all of them are stupid. They are smart enough, in fact, to use a condom. Are they thinking about pregnancy? I don't know, I don't think so. Probably they are trying to protect themselves from STDs, right? But generally, they leave that somewhere around. And when we find that, it's great trouble for them. Can you imagine why? Because if you think about the condom, and if in case there was a sexual, violent sexual intercourse, what am I gonna find inside it? The perpetrator. What am I gonna find outside of that? That's the victim, right? Now, is that a strong evidence? Yes, it is, for example. And what's under the victim's nails, for example? The victim tries to defend herself or himself. Okay, he might scratch who? The assailant, right? So what do we expect under the nails? Exactly. Tissue of the assailant, so his DNA. Oh, 7 minutes, sorry, I have to be a little bit faster, I guess. And then you can understand the idea, I guess, bite marks, for example. There is job for a forensic pathologist, and also anything we can say about the dental structure there, not only saliva, DNA, and murder, strangulation. Somebody's, trying to strangulate another person, and generally you can see those crescent-like traumas around the neck area, right? So where is the tissue now? In the nails of the assailant, right? So if we find them in time, that's great. But that's my favorite, fingerprints. Like, as you can see it here, that's another story. That's my greatest love. That's my PhD, because not all the time we have something like that. Or we don't have a suspect, or we don't have a hit in the fingerprint database. So, but how do we deposit? Oh, sorry, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Sorry. So how do we deposit that? Once again, our cells are involved, not only what we call free DNA, because our cells deteriorate. And so, yes, I can use it as a DNA source, once again. Especially when it's partial, it's not conclusive when we use conventional fingerprint techniques, okay? And so, generally speaking about touch DNA, okay, let's touch DNA for you. What do you think? Did I leave my, yeah. Exactly. But when I see that in the crime scene, that's easier. It's difficult to find out about that. It's very easy to find that one. So I know somebody touched that area. So even better. And narcotics, for example, okay, toxicology. They are going to run their show there, but who made that package? Can I find about that? Of course, touch DNA. Somebody probably, hopefully without gloves, touched that package, right? And then, of course, we have, as you know, paternity testing, and not only kinship analysis. Today, it's easy, is it? Not all the time. When somebody is lost, somebody is dead, and then, of course, you, 5 minutes, okay, I'll be faster a little bit. And then, of course, we have those serial crimes, serial killers, rapists, pedophiles, anything that can, you know, repeat. So what do we do about that? Oh, DNA database. That's terrible, right? People think like that. Most of the people, unfortunately. You know what? It's going to be a little bit exaggerated, but I can't imagine myself living during the medieval times, walking out of the woods with an axe, and so all of a sudden there is news somebody got killed in the woods, and somebody saw me coming out of the woods. No DNA, no genetics, no database. I'm done, probably. They are going to burn me as a perpetrator. That, in fact, is not here to incriminate people. It's here to, in fact, exclude people as fast as possible. In fact, in forensic sciences, nobody talks about that enough. We are not motivated to punish people. Just to go, okay, this is the suspect, probably he is, let's, you know, move on with that. No, our motivation is to try and exclude the suspect. As much as we can't exclude the suspect, then with that degree, he is probably the assailant, okay? So, DNA database is also there to prevent that, and especially when we don't have a suspect. All right, because all of a sudden now we know in America found that out the hardest way. Ted Bundy, for example, most probably heard about that. Okay, and so the question was, after a while, I have a crime scene, I don't have suspects or a suspect, but I have some biological evidence. What do I do with that? Okay, let's put it in the DNA database, because if I have another crime scene with the same assailant, I'll be able to find him much more easily, right? Especially if he has a record. But it didn't stop there. As my professor beautifully said, we are going beyond that now. This is facial reconstruction. Okay, when you have remainings, and it's very difficult for so many reasons, all right? But today, we don't even need the remains as when we have DNA, right? Now, this is real life, okay? That's lab that is doing right now that job, and yes, it worked. And when they didn't have witnesses, they didn't have suspects, they found them. Now, it's not easy. Okay, now they don't go to the police and say, you know what, that hair, that kind of eyes or color or everything. We extrapolate possibilities, like 90% possibility the person is blonde, for example, or has blue eyes. Okay, but it's way better than the old, drawings. And so we are covering so many things today, and it works. And then when the suspect is brought in, then we can run again our STRs and find out whether this is truly the perpetrator or not. It helps a lot, but yes, careful though. Talking about SMPs, that's another deal. I'm not going to worry about that. And then next generation sequencing, and who knows what's to come. It's beautiful. You can sequence the whole genome of a person in 1 hour, for example, all right? Or 100 or 1,000 people's genome. It's beautiful. It is being used for monitoring health right now, especially babies. Well, that's another story. And what we call SNPs, and not only the STRs I was talking about, we can use them. And probably we are going to be able to run all of them, STRs, SNPs, the facial reconstruction part, at the same time, and not only. So those are state-of-the-art instruments, and of course, the software is of paramount importance. And it's truly great and exciting times to be a forensic, scientist, to be a molecular biologist, and not only, and really don't be shy. If you know people who are into that, learn also computer sciences and programming. And before I forget about artificial intelligence, I don't know where that is going to take us. And hopefully, thank you very much. Who is that? This is my colleague. The whole team is here. My first professors, my colleague, Shebnam couldn't make it. I know she wanted to be here so much. We collaborated for so many years, part of the team, so I wanted to bring her in like that. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Next we'll hear from Professor Janko Kolev, who is President of the International Association of Forensic Sciences. He's a member of the Expert Council for Forensic Medicine at the Bulgarian Ministry of Health, head of the Department of Forensic Medicine, District Hospital of Gabrovo, Bulgaria. And the title of his talk is CSI, Beyond the Yellow Tape, Unraveling the Mysteries of Modern Forensics. Welcome.
So Thierry started with Hollywood, and this is artistic addition to my speech. Actually, I put it because of you. It's the medal of the president of International Association of Forensic Sciences, but it is made in 1972 in Hollywood for the 6th president for his reign. So it's something like a missing link between forensics and Hollywood. So I will speak about crime scenes like from the point of view of forensic doctor, but I'm not only forensic pathologist, I work clinical forensic medicine, I am forensic radiologist in addition, and fortunately my PhD is in forensic entomology, so bugs, insects, and crime. Can we switch off some more lights, maybe? Yeah, thanks. It's a huge matter. I need 2 hours, maybe? Because to unravel what is forensic medicine and crime scene investigation, all this biological evidence which we inspect, it's like this time you will only look through a keyhole to see something. What's this? This is one of the crime scenes, and in Bulgaria it was a big bus accident with many victims burnt alive inside, trying to escape through the door. So it was very hard to work. So you need to be really psychologically very stable. And another thing here, it is the missing link in a crime with a sexual assault. Do you know what is this? This is abortion. So there is a DNA of the perpetrator, you know. And in forensic medicine, maybe in ancient time, we were like shamans. We tried to do something without science, and now we put a lot of science in our work. And like Sherlock Holmes said, it's my business to know things, so we learn a lot the whole life. So be afraid to become forensic pathologist. And everybody expected something bloody, so I'll start with some bloody things. This is a homicide case with firearm injuries. And this is what we're dealing with, but we not only just detect this information, but we gather much more things and we make conclusions. We really deduce things from facts. So we must explain to the prosecution, to the court, because especially in Bulgaria, we regularly visit courts and witnessing there. Even we can collect additional information, asking questions to the witnesses, so it's interesting. And maybe the best part to discuss and to be cross-examined by attorneys, so it's a big fight. Very nice. And what is today's topic? It's too much, but I'll try to be more concise for all this. About crime scene investigation, corpses again, new technologies which are involved. It's not only, you know, bloody hands. We use a lot of technologies. Virtual autopsy, or so-called virtopsy. 3D technologies which will involve 3D scanning of objects, crime scenes, and making reconstruction and modeling, even animation of crime scenes, which is interesting. But most important thing in our work is to explain thoroughly to the court what are the facts. And if I explain in Latin language, I will not be understood. But if I make 3D reconstruction, it will be nice for everybody. So we like pictures. We'll speak about the insects and that, and some facts about medical malpractice, that, some amusing facts, and not so amusing. So Hollywood. We became popular with this, but you know, at first when this series started, everything happens, you know, in one series. You can see everything solved. It's not possible in real life. At least it was not possible, but as the previous lecturer said, now we can have a DNA result in 1 hour. It's much faster than CSI series. So we are evolving, really. And important thing in starting crime scene investigation is to form a team. And usually, just to explain to you the basic things, when something happens, yes, the police, maybe the emergency care unit arrives to see if somebody is dead or not first. And afterwards, a team formed enters the crime scene and starts to collect evidence, to note the facts. So it's usually a police investigator. If there is a corpse, that's me there also. Technicians, photographers, people who are collecting different traces, some technologies which are involved with all this, like 3D scanners, etc. Sometimes electricians or engineers in for car accidents, for example. So it's not so simple. Every time we have different teams formed. And our main work is to answer questions, which are very simple, you know, who, what, when, where, and why. But sometimes in a case I have like 40 questions to answer, a mixture of all this. And Locard's principle already discussed, but maybe you can imagine we take some pictures at the crime scene, but you can see on this picture that this is the minimum photos which are made for a car accident. You can see how many perspectives, so it's not so simple, a lot of work. And what we also examine, it's bloodstain patterns. Not only patterns which are used for calculation of directions of different hits, etc., but also what left this blood. which could be medium velocity, like cuffing, for example, with blood, or a gunshot through the head, for example, or just swipe with fabric, or some hand swipe, or just drops, but from different directions they look different. So many different traces we use. And we can calculate from these traces directions, angles. Nowadays, we don't use ropes and metric devices, but we can use these calculations through 3D scanning of the scene with blood and make it virtually, which is much better, of course. And usually, this is one of the crime scenes which I attended. We have a car, a garage, and a man inside. Does it look suspicious for you? No? Or maybe. It's strange. But it's a typical setting. Now it's opened, but it was closed before. But we don't know. So this is a case of collecting of facts. We must know what was before the entering this area, what happened before. And sometimes it's ruined, the crime scene, by somebody entering and touching and changing the environment. But this is a case of suicide with gases from exhaustion tube from the car. So it's carbon monoxide intoxication, a typical kind of suicide in a garage with a car. So sometimes experience helps. But sometimes we have this corpse only afterwards in the autopsy room. That's why it's very important to attend crime scenes, because most of the information is from here. And this one also, what is the role of forensic doctor? It's a young man in the autopsy room, and the autopsy reveals nothing, absolutely nothing, zero. We call it white autopsies also. But again, the crime scene will be important in this case. This is the crime scene. You can see 2 bottles of, it's a first case in Bulgaria of helium intoxication, suicide. So tubing and a mask over the face. It was not at the face when I arrived, but anyway, we found this. And the answer, what is the cause of death, was there at the crime scene, because nothing left in the corpse. And a big corpse which is heavily mummified, but it's 2 years old in this situation. We found in an apartment. Sometimes we have molds of different colors, so at first we can see maybe it's just a process of decomposition. But then we found this. And it was not yogurt, not a chocolate. After inspection, we found that this is it's a fungicide, which is used in agriculture. And after inspecting the body, we found almost nothing. I mean, the concentration was very low. And then what's important, we found also some insects here. It's, sorry. Go back. So we found empty puparia of flies, which were feeding in this mouth. So from them, we made a toxicological analysis, and we found this substance in much bigger concentration. So insects answered that this was ingested, and it's a kind of contact toxin. So it's not entering the organism totally, but the contact causes the death. And again, we have the answers from the crime scene, and this time from the insects. And here, it's not good only to work with just with your eyes, because you cannot see everything. That's why we use different technologies, and in this case, we use special light sources. And you can see here nothing in this homicide case. But here, with ultraviolet light, we see a very small fiber. And this could be a trace to the perpetrator. So without special light, we cannot solve this case. It's not possible, really. But this small trace is the answer. And I can say in normal practice we usually miss it, because not everybody uses special technologies. They are expensive, for example. So practice is not like in a film always. It's very important to collect evidence. And here you can see special lights which are used in criminalistics. And through these special lights we can reveal semen, we can reveal dactyloscopy, we can reveal sweat, blood on different surfaces, which is usually not visible. And we can collect them and take DNA, for example. And here you can see on fabric semen or blood, but on this surface it's not visible. Here, after applying infrared, it's visible. And here it's a gunshot residue, but on black it's not so visible. Here, using special light, again infrared, it's visible. And again this pattern also makes it not so visible. And here this case was of my colleagues. We had a woman found with many injuries, and these trousers, which are like nothing special, but in this case infrared light was used and we discovered this pattern. So without infrared we have no answer for this case, but later from this we made reconstruction, and it's 3 times rolling over the victim. So maybe simple answers, but through some sophisticated technologies, which we must know to be used. And 3D technologies which are used, what are they? They're different. Photogrammetry, which is just taking pictures around some object, and afterwards calculation through a specific software makes a 3D image. Or we use scanning with structural light or laser scan. Usually this is the most important technology because we can measure everything. Or we use CT scanning, like in hospitals, computer tomography, when we inspect bodies. Or we can use different combinations. This is photogrammetry example. And this is a CT of a case, suitcase. What is inside? Dismembered body. It was found for one suitcase, and if we open it, just we can ruin the evidence, so it's good first to be scanned. So it was scanned, but it was not the whole body, and later another suitcase was found, and some other parts were found. And this is 3D scanning of a crime scene with a woman found in a pot. So it's a good documentation of different cases. When we can see, this is a case of self-burning with gasoline. And this is not a drone photo picture. It's a 3D scan, which I made just walking down the road of a big road traffic accident. But we can use this 3D scan to look from different perspectives. So this is one of the victims. And what is used usually? These tripods, some of them old. This is one of the first models, and this is one of the newest. Usually it takes a lot of time to make a big scan of a big territory, so we need time. And another decision is to use more modern technology or another technology. You can see the results of such scans. And this is a body which is scanned with laser scanning and photogrammetry together. We can measure when we have these 3D scans. Everything could be measured. This is important, especially when we have a road traffic accident. We can measure distance between pedals or the wheel and the body, and we can decide if it's just accident or maybe something else involved. And we can combine different technologies. In this case, we can make a reconstruction from a CT scan with all the injuries. So we make a model, and later this model could be used in picture for the court, not to use bloody pictures, but a model, but in real dimensions. So usually little things are very important in our work. That's why it's good to take care about small details and to have enough time in this work to measure, to collect everything. One of the small things, flies. Why flies? Why they are important? They're disgusting sometimes, especially because we use them in cases of decomposed bodies. So in forensic medicine, we use non-psychological methods. We try to collect information from the dead body about, for example, time of death. So we collect information from changes in the body, like body stiffening, which we call rigor mortis, or livor mortis, which means blood which leaves like stains in the tissues when the circulation stops, or cooling of the body. We measure it with a special thermometer and we can calculate the body cooling. So it's important for us to calculate the time of death. Why it is important? Especially it's important in the first hours of, for example, a homicide case, because when we say to the police, to the investigators, when did it happen, it's important for them to find in this exact moment who was there, or to exclude somebody who was there but not at that moment. But sometimes we can have decomposed bodies, and all these methods which I described before are useless because we already have a totally cooled body, the equal temperature with the environment. Everything is changed, and the smell, of course, you cannot see the smell here. So then answers are given by small objects, maggots. So because of insects, the planet is clean. It's axioma that it's Carl Linnaeus who said that three flies can eat a corpse of a horse faster than one lion. Why? Because they lay thousands of eggs and they start consuming. But what's important? It's important that flies, they start to colonize the body in first minutes, first hours after death, because they have, like sharks, they can feel it from 2-3 kilometers, so they come. And they start colonizing the body, and their life cycle is very temperature dependent. So if we can recognize the exact species of a fly or some other insects, we can backwards calculate the time with the temperatures when these flies arrived. So it was the time when this dead body appeared at that place. So could be time of death. And some cases which are going through them. In this case, we found only bones, and I work with bones also, in a forest, spread all over the territory. So it was a person who disappeared a few months ago, maybe, after, yeah. And we found the place where it was a small spot of decay with maggots. And these maggots, they're not for eating. These maggots, they are used for finding exactly the place where the body was before becoming bones. So we found the place, and we found some rope on the tree, which was maybe the cause of death, hanging in this case. So another use of insects. And speaking about autopsies, I'll pass through some pictures here to go to virtual autopsies. They were developed since 2000 in Switzerland, and since then we started to use them more and more for collecting information from a body before cutting it or without cutting it, which is useful, very useful. Collecting this information, you can see the quality of images which we can have. So it's almost like anatomic atlas. And we collect this information and we can answer the ballistic questions about trauma, being in firearm injuries. We can find some bullets inside, which later during autopsy could be spread all over or very hard to find in the body. Or we can reconstruct any trauma afterwards. In this case, we have some traces which we found here and the object which perpetrated them, but it's only from the picture. And here from the CT, we can find the mechanism of the injury. So it was falling from height in a drunken stage. What else we use radiology for? We use it for age comparison, especially for migrants, for example, which is important, or for dead bodies, or we can reconstruct the face. And later we have even better technologies which are used for really excellent pictures. Nowadays we have scanners which are developed to make a resolution like 0.1 millimeters. So this is much better, really virtual autopsy. And other technologies are, this is a coronary artery under the microscope with a thrombus. This is a cause of death, which is infarction. But we can see this only on microscope. And this is another technology which we use. It's coronary thermoangiography. We use infrared camera and we inject hot liquid into the heart arteries to see if they're in good condition. Oh, sorry. If they're in good condition, and we can see if there are some disturbances in the liquid in the arteries. So here we have something which disturbs the circulation. Afterwards, during the autopsy, I can discover a thrombus here or not, depending on the case. So a good example of our practice. Usually we hope that we will find answers through the information we collect, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So thank you for your attention. I think that after this you'll have a good dinner. And maybe some of you will change professions from psychologists maybe to forensic doctors. You have 6 years of time and another 4 for specialization, so it's happening, you know.
So thank you very much. We have apologies from one of our speakers who really wanted to be here with us this evening and was unable to, unfortunately, but they provided a short video message for us. So the next speaker via video message is Professor Meriç Karacan. Yes. I hope I say it right. Professor in Gynecology, Faculty of Medicine, Istanbul University, Istanbul Faculty of Medicine. And the talk, which obviously will be very short synopsis, is about sex crimes, the gynecologist's perspective.
I'm Professor Meriç Karacan, gynecologist and member of forensic medicine team of Yeni Yüzyıl University. Gynecologists provide invaluable expertise in forensic medicine, particularly in cases involving sexual and reproductive health. Their role is multifaceted, covering evidence collection, expert testimony, victim care, and finally collaboration with other forensic professionals. So I'm happy to be part of this team.
Thank you. So we were very happy that he was able to be with us, even for a short message. So last but certainly not least, our final speaker is Dr. Daniela Pilarino, a chartered forensic psychologist with the British Psychological Society, who is a faculty member of the Department of Psychology here at New York College in Athens, and she will be giving a talk entitled Stalking, Romance or a Crime. Welcome.
Hello. You know who I am. So let's get started. Stalking is one of those crimes that is very, very complex because it encompasses a lot of different crimes within it. So it's never a very clear case, is it or is it not? The other issue that we have is when people want to get into a relationship or the relationship ends, they often exhibit some behaviors that, you know, can be a bit challenging. You know, you like someone, you'll send them a message, or 10, or 20, or 40, or stalk all their friends. It happens, but because of the way it is, it's not often very easy to understand that it is a crime, okay? The reason that the other issue that we have is we don't have one definition that can encompass what exactly it is. Some definitions focus on the victims and their harassment. Some focus on their behaviors. Others just on the threat of the perpetrator. What it actually is, it's everything. But because it's so difficult to actually explain it, it's why people have a very difficult thing to understand it, okay? So you all have social media. You have all Googled someone and are interested to find out who they are, what they've done. Could that go into stalking someone? Yes, if that behavior becomes excessive, okay? There is a very, very fine line between what is normal and what is abnormal here. Everything else is more clearly. You either have a crime or you don't. With stalking, it's very difficult to actually pinpoint when the crime starts. That is why a lot of the victims do not understand they're being stalked. Okay? So, what has happened? So, some of the fun data that we have is in the United Kingdom, last year we had 70,236 stalking cases. So we're getting close to 1 million. We're going well. Now, how many of that were actually prosecuted? About 1%. And we're going to go into why in a bit. It's fascinating. Now, in Greece, the last official data we have was from 12 years ago, and it was at 12%. Probably double that. Okay? If you have been stalked, it takes you about 1.8 years to understand that it's happening and for you to ask for help. It takes about 100 incidents for the victim to go to the police and ask for help. Why? Because of the nature of it. If somebody is repeatedly sending you messages, they're just sending you messages. They're not threatening you. They're not doing anything bad, but they're slowly building up to something worse. Okay? Now, the other thing that we have an issue with stalking, it's always connected to interpersonal violence. So it usually has to do with the beginning or the ending of relationships, and that's where we find it. A lot of it links with domestic violence, and very rarely is by somebody you don't know. It's either going to be somebody you were in a relationship with, an acquaintance. So to define an acquaintance, do you all have that one coffee shop that you usually go and you know everybody that works there, but you don't actually know their names? That's an acquaintance. Just to make it more terrifying for you. Thank you. You're welcome. Now, this is the most recent data, and the crime is now broken down into different categories. So we have men and women that are being stalked. Then we have domestic stalking, which means it's your ex-partner, ex-husband, ex-wife, so on and so forth. And then we move into by a partner or an ex-partner, family member. A lot of people are stalked by family members and they don't realize it. It could be cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings, and so on, okay? And because of it, they say, but it's your family. You know, it can't be that bad. It can be really, really bad, okay? And then we have cyber stalking. The problem with cyberstalking is it often falls within the parameters of stalking itself. So sometimes we have a link between the two crimes. Sometimes it could just be cyber and nothing else, but usually it falls one after the other, okay? All the numbers are going up, and in COVID, everything went up because you were stuck in one place and you couldn't escape the perpetrator. So that made the situation even more terrifying for the victims. Now, 6.6% of reported stalkings to the police resulted in a charge, so going well. 1.4 were convicted of stalking. What does that mean? The rest of the 5% were convicted under the Harassment Act. That means there wasn't enough evidence for the person to be convicted for that. And I'll show you in a minute why does that happen. The numbers for last year is, we went up in prosecutions, the numbers also went up, so it's not going well. Why is this happening? Let's go to this beautiful legislation that was created in 2012. This is the UK legislation. I'll also show you the Greek one to show you why it's so difficult to actually prosecute. The UK legislation has two parts, 2A and 4A. 2A, which is this one, is for the purpose, a person's course of conduct amounts to stalking of another person, and it amounts to harassment. Not many things that they have to do. You have to either follow someone, continuously showing up at the workplace. It doesn't really discuss about what's happening to the victim. It just gives you a set of parameters. Do you feel this? Yes, great. This is what happened. You are being stalked. Great. That gets you 51 weeks, maximum 6 months. It's not a lot for the amount of damage psychologically that has done to someone. This section is what most people will try to get because it has a bigger penalty. It has up to 5 years. But you have to prove that they are causing you fear. How can you prove that you are in a state of fear? How do you quantify fear? You can't. Are you afraid of cockroaches? Will you kill one? Some of you would, some of you won't. But that, again, links back to how are you fearful? Some people see blood and they faint. Other people are like, cool. The pictures before, absolutely loved them. Half of the room hated it. But again, it's your threshold. And because it's such a personal experience, we can't quantify it. You cannot prove in a court that you were so fearful that this person caused you agony. There are stalking victims who have lost their hair because of being stalked for so long. And the judge still said, I don't see you being fearful. Cool. So they got 6 months and they were out. Okay? So it's very, very difficult to prove even legally. There is a discussion now that the law should be changed. Until then, we have another 10 years. Okay? In Greece, the penal code changed in 2018. Most people don't even know that this exists, which is even more terrifying. And a lot of it depends again. I had witnessed one court case where the woman went in and she said, I am, well, not stalked, being threatened by someone. The judges believed her, but that was, again, a case-by-case thing. You can go up to 2 different judges, give exactly the same evidence, and one would say, I don't see it, and somebody else will see it. The prosecutor for this case, for the stalking case, said, I don't see anything wrong. Nothing amounts to it. The judge went, no, I see it. It's the details. That's the problem. It's not, here's a body, there's no body. It's so open-ended. Okay? What are the behaviors? All of this. Some of these are not bad. I mean, spreading rumors, no. Making exaggerated expressions of affection, that's lovely. Leaving gifts, who doesn't like a gift? Now, when the gift is a bag of raw meat, is it a gift? No. So again, it really is. The most terrible thing about stalking is the escalation. And the escalation usually ends up murder. So you leave from me and you go to these guys. So we have a progression. But yeah, usually by the time police are getting involved with it, it's already terrible, the situation. We've left the fun stuff. Okay, what happens to the victims? All of this. So you could be stalked for 2 years and you develop PTSD and it affects your life. There are stalking victims that decide to change countries because they no longer feel safe. They don't longer feel protected. There was one stalking victim, the one who lost the hair, who moved to another country. Didn't specify where. She just went, I'm moving, I'm done. I'm never going to be safe here. I don't know if she swapped continents. Could have been. But she just went, I can't deal with this. The police is not going to help me. There's no way I can go through the system again and again. So they develop PTSD, loss of trust, depression, isolation, and all of that is detriment to who they become. They become a different person. You will meet stalking victims that their phone rings and it's an unknown number, and they will have a panic attack and disappear for a week because the notion is he's back or she's back, because it is a very gendered crime, and we'll see this. With majority is usually males. It doesn't mean women can't do it. They just don't get caught. Yeah. Also, a lot of male victims have gone to court, and they've said, the judge was like, but why aren't you happy with the attention? A woman is chasing you. This is nice. It's a compliment. It's not. It's terrifying. But they don't see that. So all of this can go for both genders, but the majority, based on the data that we currently have, is more men. Now, if you ask women, they are more they're more comfortable saying, yeah, I've stalked somebody, because nothing is going to happen to them. It's not as bad. Even it can be the same amount of terrifying. Okay, so this is some of the information that we have, and this is usually the victim characteristics. So it's usually more females. You have some type of relationship with them. Stranger stalking, or what we call celebrity stalking, is minuscule. It's about maybe 2%. Everything else, it's somebody that knows you, and they know everything about you. Okay? Now, again, this is who it is. So somebody from your work, a friend, a relative, school, and places usually that you can't escape. Most people change careers, or I had once somebody who was a priest. It was a woman, and her job was to go from one parish to another. She couldn't leave. She couldn't change her job. They moved her to a different location. The person still found her, and they were like, "How are we going to protect her?" And I'm like, has she thought about changing her jobs? You know? And she's like, no, she wants to keep doing what she loves. She has to realistically think about it. Her safety is more important. So it will destroy your whole life. So here are the fun facts. 1 in 2 domestic stalkers, if they make a threat, they will carry it out. They usually show up at your job. So most of the times they will show up, because your job is somewhere you can't leave. If they know that you are in one place for 8 hours, they will take advantage of it. Majority, again, they're males, but based on the Metropolitan Police and data that we still have, most of the victims of homicide, it's usually their ex. And they have gone to the police to ask protection about stalking. Okay? Do I have anything else? Yes. So these are 2 songs that you should never look at the same. One is Every Breath You Take, Stalker Anthem. Don't use it for your wedding. Yeah. And the other one is Kylie Minogue. You never thought Kylie was a stalker, but yeah, there you go. So that's it.
So thank you very much to all of our speakers. I think we've all learnt an awful lot of interesting things about the multidisciplinary field of forensic science, and a few things about insects as well. If you'd like to stay afterwards and ask more questions and continue the discussion, you're very welcome to. And of course, if anybody who's watching this video on YouTube or is in the room is considering postgraduate study, the team would be very happy to accept an application for perhaps an MPhil or a PhD on one of these topics. You can go to our website, nyc.gr, and have a look at our programs. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.